Hello and welcome to PBBN TV. My name is Mark Rosetto. I'm going to be your host for today, and I have Lacey Barratt, birth photographer all the way from Victoria. How you doing, Lacey?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. Now, don't let the accent fool you. She is an Australian Victorian, but originally from New Orleans, was it?
Yeah, New Orleans. I'll get my country southern accent out for you.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Now, Lacey, how long have you been living in Australia for then? How long have
Um,
you been here for?
yeah, great question. I've been here since 2010.
2010. And birth photography. Tell me. What is birth photography and why did you get into it? Give us a lowdown. Who is Lacey Barratt? What is birth photography and what's your story? What's
Yeah, so I came over on a 5-day holiday to Sydney that ended very drastically different. I ended up the next day in Darwin.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, it was a wild ride, but I ended up meeting my partner 3 months later
yeah,
and got married like 2 months after I met him, 3 months
yep,
after I met him, when you know, you know.
yep,
And that was in 2010.
yep,
That's when Rain came over, 2010. And then we had our first baby in 2012.
yep.
And I missed, my mom actually asked me, Lacey, are you going to have Matt take some photos when you're having the baby? And I was like, ew, are you crazy?
Yeah.
And then he was born and time went on. And then, Time Hop on Facebook pops up like 12 months later.
Yep,
Well,
yep,
mine popped up and was like 12 months ago today. And it pulled up 3 photos that I had from his birth. And that was it.
yep.
And it was in that moment where my heart sunk to my stomach and I went, oh, now I understand why my mom asked if I was going to take pictures. Because, time goes on,
Yep.
it kind of fades. You don't remember all the details. And I was at that point where I didn't remember all the details. And so it was at that point that I decided, you know what? I'm going to shoot birth.
Yeah. Because birth photography really wasn't a thing back then. Like
No.
I remember birth photography was not a thing. I remember Kate Smashes. We did one of the first ever Kate Smashes back in around 2010. And
Mhm.
everyone was like, what do you get them to do with a cake? But birth photography, it's like, you want me to take a photo of, you're taking a photo of what, where, how? Like,
Mhm.
that was really unorthodox back then.
It was. And by that stage, I had already been delving into photography a little bit
Yep.
because I wanted to take pictures. Every mom wants to take pictures of their kids. And so I had
Yep.
spent like one of my last maternity leave payments on like this Nikon DX90 off of, yes, off
Awesome.
of eBay. That's what I started shooting on. And
Very
I
good.
actually grew a business on that camera. It's wild. I look back at
Yeah.
the photos and I'm like, wow.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and so then I like started Googling birth photography and I figured out that it was far more popular in America than
Yep.
what it was here in Australia.
Yep.
And I found this incredible birth photographer, Melissa Kate, in America. She was actually selling a birth photography course. Um,
Yeah. Awesome.
this is pre-videos. This
Yeah.
is Her course was in like
A
a
CD pack.
page
I see.
PDF.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Um, and I think I paid like 500 US dollars for it or something. Like it was wild.
Yep.
But it was the best thing ever. And from that point forward, I was like, is that it? And she was like, yeah, go shoot births now. And I was like,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Um, and from that point forward, I kind of had like, I didn't have anyone to mentor me. It was just a figure it out and learn, never do that again.
Yeah. Now, fast forward a little bit and then we're going to go back. But fast forward now, you actually have been looking after and you're in charge of the International Association of Birth Photographers and run the Birth Photography of the Year awards. Before we go back to how to get started and why and what do you need and do's and don'ts, tell us about that. What is it? I think you said IAOBP and the awards.
Yeah, so it's International Association of Professional Birth
Oh,
Photographers.
professional person. I forgot
Yeah,
it in
that's
that
okay.
one.
And
Yeah.
the acronym is IAPBP, and it is not easy to say, and it has taken me a long time to perfect that
IAPBP. Yep.
mouthful.
Yep.
So, IAPBP was something that started in 2010 as well.
Yep.
And it started in America. There was a birth photographer who was kind of like, hey, um, my local mates around, like, I'm going to chuck my name up on a directory. Do you want to chuck yours on it with me?
Yep.
And then it went from like her inner circle to like their friends told their friends and
Yep.
so forth and so on. And now 15 years later,
Yep.
there's like over 1,000 members. There's over 52 52 countries where people are members of IPBP. And so it's really, really incredible to see how that has grown over the years.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's cool to see the up and coming countries because they'll pop up in new memberships over the years, and you're like, oh wow, birth photography is booming in Mexico right now
Yeah.
because you'll
Yeah.
get like 3 or 4 new signups from various countries in like a quick cluster. It's really cool to watch.
That's very cool. That's very cool.